Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me again today. My name is Lara. I am a California licensed marriage and family therapist, and I live in San Diego, California. I have my own private practice called Eudaimonia Therapy. If you are one of my patients, thank you for listening and being my inspiration. And today I am very, very, very excited to talk to you about logic and the inner child. They're very intertwined. So we first need to understand today about this exercise is that we are utilizing Stoicism and the teachings of Socrates. So by doing this, you are becoming a philosopher today. And truly this could be enlightening, will be enlightening for you if you so engage and decide to do so. Because illogical reasoning is the heart of inner child thinking. And it is very freeing when you realize the template that you've been living in. So that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, Socrates had a way of debating that was so simple and very, very therapeutic. He was kind of doing cognitive behavioral therapy, within his thinking labs when he did his traveling around to the institutes and doing his debating. And he would basically stop the conversations and ask, wait, what are we actually arguing about? What does the word mean? What is the premise underneath what you're saying? What is the belief system? We see this a lot today. A lot of arguments about things that are not even defined. And we actually could see probably that we're in a lot more agreement if we could actually just define the premise behind what our arguments are. Most of the time, we're not suffering because of the conclusion. We're suffering because of the premise. And a premise, this is a very old word. We use it just flippantly today, but it's a very significant word because what it is a premise is a starting belief or assumption that you treat as true. Stoicism is very similar in how they look at a premise. The Stoics believed you don't get destroyed by reality, you get destroyed by your interpretation of reality. So what we're doing here is not positive thinking, we're doing something very much more powerful. We're learning how to take an emotional thought and slow it down and ask, is this premise true? Does this match reality? Or is this my inner child trying to make meaning out of pain? So this is a logic exercise, but it's also a freedom exercise. We're going to do this in several parts. Let's do it. All right. What is a premise? It's a starting belief or assumption that you treat as true. Now, these can be very harmful. Think about it. If you believe you're better than others, if you believe you're less than others, if you believe people owe you things, if you believe that you owe people things, see how we can start off very tilted in one direction or another, or we may know someone like that and really have a hard time relating to them. This will help. What is logic? Logic is the process of moving from premise to the conclusion. A classic logic example, all humans are mortal. Socrates is human, therefore Socrates is mortal. What makes an argument valid? The conclusion follows the premise. What makes an argument true? The premise reflects reality. So this is very important, a key insight. You can reason perfectly. You can have a valid argument, but you can still ruin your life if your premise is wrong. So for instance, you may be a people pleaser and you truly believe that you owe to fix people's problems, or you owe to not take up space, or you owe to overcompensate. If you base your life on that, you can make valid arguments for that, but you will still self-sabotage because the premise is not based in reality, because you don't owe people things that they cannot do for themselves. You don't owe to fix people's problems, and you do not need to apologize for existing or taking up space. So see how that's how we go and we rewrite these illogical thinking patterns. But first we have to understand what they are and that you can have valid arguments, but it can still be untrue or illogical because the premise does not reflect reality. Don't argue with the conclusion, interrogate the premise. It's like don't hate the messenger. What makes something illogical? When the conclusion does not match reality, the evidence, or the situation. It just feels emotionally true. So you know people like this. I can be like this. upset about something that logically does not make sense. Let's say a place closes at 9 p.m. This is a good example. It's a professional boundary. They close at 9. It's not a personal attack. But of course, you get there at 9:05, they will not let you in. Or maybe a few minutes before, they will not let you in. You become upset. That may be emotionally true, but does that reflect reality, the evidence of the situation? It's illogical to be upset. You knew. So treating a professional boundary as a personal attack would be a category error and would be illogical. And you would see yourself spiraling. You would see other people not tolerating you. You would see people, disregarding you. Then you could go into another spiral and say, look how people treat me. People are always like this. But then again, you're operating under a premise that people owe you things. Or it could be the complete opposite, where you just put together the dots of people are mad at you. You should be doing this. You're always wrong. And in that situation, the premise you're operating off of is that you're not deserving of space, or you're not deserving of respect, or you're not deserving of co-parenting. So you believe that you have to overcompensate. Well, your argument might be valid, but you're operating under a premise that doesn't even respect your own autonomy. So it's going to come up illogical, and it's not going to solve your problems. Very frustrating for people. All right, let's go into another example. Medical provider offense. I'm upset. My doctor's blunt. Or a school teacher. Or maybe you just get feedback. I remember getting feedback from teachers. They would be blunt. And then, you know what I would go to? They hate me. They don't like me. They don't want me here. That was very, very inner child. I had to learn and do an adult test on myself and say, no, they're doing a job, an assessment. They care, a treatment. This isn't personal. So if I operate under the premise that they're doing a job and fulfilling their obligation, then my reasoning will result in logic that says, I can take the feedback and apply it accordingly, and I don't need to be upset. You can hold two truths at once. That's where we pull that intervention up. Someone can give you feedback, and it cannot mean that you're incompetent. So because you're operating under the idea that you're incompetent if you become personally offended by all feedback. It's like you have to back up and say, I'm competent. I also can be accountable, and I'm here to get feedback. And then therefore that relieves you of the personal attack that you're feeling. Special treatment, rules don't apply to me. I mean, we all feel that in different situations, I think. The adult test is fairness requires consistency. Exceptions must be earned or agreed upon. So next time, when we get upset about things that we know, maybe, we're being immature about, expecting special treatment, or maybe we're giving in to someone who expects special treatment, that would be operating under the premise that rules shouldn't apply to certain people. So we have to back up and say, no, fairness is consistency, and I can respect that, and therefore I don't need to feel offended by rules being implemented, and I also don't have to fix that for someone else. Mind reading. This is another cognitive distortion. Operating under the premise that I know what someone meant. And, we can feel like we do, and sometimes we are right. But connecting those dots creates a lot of personal strife and anger when we operate like that. And the adult test would be, I don't know. I can ask questions. I can stick to facts. I don't need to take things personally and not have my value attached to that. And this will be the last one that we do for this segment. Excuse does not negate outcome, and excuse does not negate the outcome in any relational professional setting. There may be a reason for something, but that does not negate the outcome or erase the impact it had on someone else. So I hope you enjoyed this introduction to logic and the inner child. This is part 1, and there definitely will be more to come. Please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Oh, and please continue watching my skating videos and my artistic expression of my recovery. I love you all. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for being a part of my vision.